Bazoo line. From the front page of the Yonkers Statesman, December 18th, 1916. Headline: Romanian Army now out of action. Some lessening of the intensity of the fighting in Romania is indicated in today's German Army statements, reporting the situation on the Romanian front as unchanged. Von Mackensen's advance has pushed forward considerably behind the Bazoo line, which is drawn approximately across the southern boundary of Moldavia, and unofficial advices indicate the Entente front is to be established about 20 miles north of Bazoo and the Danube marshes. Current advices have declared the Romanian army is no longer in action, having been withdrawn for regrouping and re-equipping to Jassy and Bessarabia under the protection of the Russians who hold the fighting line. The Russians are expected to make a stand on Rymnik-Sarat, where strong defenses have been prepared. On the French-Belgian front, Paris reports strong counterattacks by the Germans on positions the French had won in their recent sweeping advance. They only gained success, according to Paris, at one point where a footing was secured. The French took 11,000 prisoners in the Verdun fighting during the last 3 days, together with 115 cannon, 700 machine guns, and 44 bomb throwers, according to Paris. The first food restrictions went into force in England today. Hotels and restaurants are now forbidden to serve more than 1 ounce of meat at breakfast or luncheon, and more than 3 courses for dinner. Meatless days, which are expected to follow soon, will prove a more difficult problem. Headline: Trolleymen vote to keep up strike. By a vote of 189 to 6, members of the local Trolleymen's Union at a meeting Saturday voted to continue the strike. Similar action was taken in New York City by men employed on the elevated and surface lines who went on strike September 6th. This means, said organizer William B. Fitzgerald, that the strike will be continued. In New York City, we will make the headquarters for all of the roads on which the men are on strike in Mozart Hall, giving up the other places and centralizing the work. Of the 10 national officers or organizers here in the early days of the strike, but 4 remain. These will be enough to handle the situation. According to Mr. Fitzgerald's figures, few of the men on strike are actually out of work, and of these the majority are in Queens, the Bronx, and Westchester. Of the 11,000 who struck, only 1,700 have deserted the union to work for their old employer or one of the other companies. Of the others, 2,590 have left New York to engage in streetcar work in other cities. It appears now that unless some settlement is made, the strike will simply evaporate. A number of motormen and conductors who went out on a strike have returned to work on the lines of the Yonkers Railroad. Headline: Will benefit the motorists. 2 bills for presentation to the legislature, which, if enacted into law, will, it is declared, give New York State the fairest and safest motor vehicle and traffic laws of any state in the Union. These bills have been approved by the Executive Committee of the New York State Automobile Association. One of the bills provides for universal traffic regulations, and the other has amendments to the motor vehicle law. These amendments provide that every person driving an automobile, whether owner or not, must first obtain a certificate from the Secretary of State. Any person can file a complaint against reckless or improper driving. The Secretary of State must then have a hearing in the judicial district in which the alleged offender resides, and if the complaint is sustained, the right to drive a motor vehicle can be revoked. And that's the news from Yonkers 100 years ago.